I do like the Sir Rick because it makes with that British accent. Sir Rick sounds so British. Sir Rick.
Sir Rick.
And Lady Vikki.
A Lady Vikki. Oh, Catherine said she can see us. Hi, Catherine. We're so glad. As I say, we all have to learn sometimes, and this is a new tool that we're testing for Hit Talks. And we thought one of the best ways for us to test Hit Talks is for us to just come out, be raw and real, and have conversations. So Rick and I thought, let's have a little bit of fun. Let's go out there, and HIT means hope, inspiration, and transformation. And then HIT also, we thought, means honest inner truths. So we thought, ooh, this is an opportunity that I can ask Rick Najera any question that I ever desire, and he has to answer honestly. He has to answer from within, and he has to answer truthfully. So I said to Rick, is he game, before I even told him what we were going to discuss. But so I'm thankful that you're on here, Rick, and you're part of Hit Talks, of the show that as everyone that's watching will be aware of. And if you're not aware of, please check us out. We do have a show that we do every couple of weeks called Hit Talks, and it's 8 speakers speaking for 8 minutes. And Rick is on every single episode with us and sharing his amazing stories. So we just thought, as well as testing this out, we would take this opportunity to have a little bit of a chat, Rick. So let's ask some questions. So I would like to ask you a question first.
Sure.
And I would like to ask you the question, Rick, of who would you say in your life has been the most inspirational person that has impacted where you are now?
I would have to say, I mean, one, I'd say my wife's a big inspiration because she's been in my life so long. My kids, but like someone in my past, I'd have to say my father. My father was my greatest inspiration. Truthfully, when I lost him, years ago, it was devastating to me for one reason. He was so positive. There was nothing I couldn't do, and you need cheerleaders in your life. You need people that really look at you. And with a father and a mother, that their love is unconditional. It's the closest thing to what the love God must feel for us. So to be around my father, I felt such inspiration, but also I felt such security. He was a really strong, good man. And I always knew I had someone in my corner. And I could do anything. That's how I started acting, because he said, I was watching a movie called Cromwell, like in a movie theater. And I went with my father, and he whispered in my ear, he said, if you spoke beautiful like that, I'd be very proud of you. And it was, of course, a British accent. So it's like, Oliver Cromwell, there will be, the Parliament shall have this, and everything was strong voices and British accents. And they were almost, to me, as a child, Shakespearean, and so my father told me that, and I got so inspired, I started reading Shakespeare, and I memorized Shakespeare. So when I was 17, I went to the Old Globe Theater in San Diego, and I auditioned for Romeo and Juliet. And I remember going, they were like, what do you want to do? What's going to be your audition piece? And I said, Romeo and Juliet. And they're like, and I just cut off my high school ID and put it on a piece of paper and wrote down some shows I'd done in junior theater. So I wasn't exactly like walking in as this experienced actor, and there were tons of them. But my father said I could do it. He's like, you could do it. Oh, Shakespeare, you can get this. And so I came in and I memorized Romeo. And I was like, but soft, what light through yonder window breaks, it is the east, and Juliet is the sun. And I just did the monologue. And they gave me the job. So in some ways, my father always was the start of my career. I mean, my mother, of course, was there as well, but more so the father, because in some ways I related to him more because I could see myself in him and him in me. It's like a daughter has a different relation with her mother than her father, and the son has a different relation with the father than the mother. And so he was my hero, and I wanted to emulate that hero. So he was a door-to-door salesman, one of his jobs. He'd go door-to-door, you knock on a door, He told me one of the most inspirational things I ever heard, and I've always remember it. He said, and I used to do it in my stand-up with an accent, a Mexican accent, like, Rick, let me tell you something. The truth is he didn't have an accent at all. But what the problem was, whenever I do the character, say my Mexican dad, he was Mexican-American dad, people were like, well, how come he doesn't have an accent? And it would stop the whole joke. They'd step out and start thinking, why isn't he should have an accent? So I just said, oh, forget it. Just give him an accent. And he thought it was funny. But the character would go, Rick, I knock on a lot of doors. One day I knock on a door, another day I knock on the door. I must knock on 100 doors and hear no every time. And finally, I knock on the one door and I hear yes. You have to knock on a lot of doors before you hear yes. So he implanted in my mind the concept, and I was writing about this. It was failure. Failure is part of success. Failure is the school of success. It's not what you've accomplished, more so of how you failed and what you learned from it. That's what our lives are. From the child on, you try to walk, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Get up, fall down, get up, fall down. After a while, you're running. Evolution is in our genes of growth. So he taught me that. Let's break down the thing. You have to knock on a lot of doors and hear yes or no before you finally hear yes. So it's true. So every time I heard no, I was like, oh, I'm getting closer to that one yes. Great. They said no. Yeah, good. They said no. You want to go through as many people that say no right away, because the worst thing can happen is there's only two answers, yes or no. Yeah. The worst thing can be, let me think about it. Let me get back to you. I don't know, and tell me more. And it's better to get to the people that are going to never do that. It's like you work in business. If you're a real estate guy and a guy's already pre-approved money-wise to get a house, that makes your job a lot easier.
Yeah.
But if you go, you sell him the house, he loves it, I want this house. You run his credit score and you find out he had multiple bankruptcies and he can't be approved for the loan. So that's the same in business. Is the same here. Is that you want to knock away the people that aren't going to get credit, or they're not going to go ahead, or the people are going to say no to you. Get rid of them. And then till you finally find the person that says yes to you. So that was the lesson and that's how he inspired me. So every time I get knocked down, I always think of his words. It's like, okay, you got knocked down, but you got to find the person who'll say yes. That's all. So that's what he taught me and what he inspired me to want to be. It was okay to want something, and it was all right to fail trying to get there, as long as you kept trying to get there, because the objective was so strong. What you wanted was so strong. And that was that.
I feel sometimes as well that, growing up and in society as well, it's encoded in you and inbred in you the fear of the fear of failure. And everyone is fearful of failing. But I've kind of shifted that on with the work that I do with my clients. And sometimes it is not the fear of them failing, because failing, as we all know, is part of our evolution. As very much you say, when you walk, you have to fall down to get back up. And, failure is part of evolution. But I see a lot in the world now, and see what your views are on this. A lot of the let's say the beings in the world, the people that really want to be successful in the world, the people that have some drive and determination and want to make a difference, they've got fear of success. Mm-hmm. And that's totally different, because fear of failure is fine, because you fail and you can go back into your box, for instance, or you fail and you just think, I've got to get back up, and that's part of life. But when you look at it from a different way, and you look at it, a fear of success, for instance, like, oh my gosh, I am going to be this big, amazing person. I'm going to be, I'm going to be Superman. And, and I'm going to literally be out there in front of everybody. And then the fear of actual success comes in, because they're getting closer and closer and closer to it, for instance, and the doors of opportunity is open, and the synchronicities are coming through from the universe, and you're getting closer and closer. And then the fear success comes in, and then there's self-sabotage that comes in and think, oh, okay, I can't do that, it's not good enough, it's not good enough. And then that's when inspiration is a different, they say it's a different animal. Do you agree with where I'm coming from?
Yeah, no, it is. It's really just a shifting of the idea.
Vocabulary.
Like, yeah, and shifting the vocabulary. It's like my daughter in school was having problems, and so I said, please smile before you do your homework.
You remember you saying this?
And she's like, why? And I go, because your body will actually, it's part of your sensitivity, your nervous system, everything. So if I laugh, it's a fake laugh.
Laugh again.
Yeah, I'm not acting, so it's a fake laugh. But the point is that laughter, look how it changed the whole conversation. You started laughing, I started laughing, and it was based on a fake laugh.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, sometimes when we claim what we're thinking, we say, or if an actor says feeling sick, then eventually they keep saying it, they will become sick. It's almost guaranteed. So one is so proclaiming it. One is saying, I'm going to smile and laugh because I'm going to start to get an education. And two, instead of going, I have to study, change it to, I want to study.
I wish to.
Or I get to study.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, great, I get to study. This is great. And because there's plenty of people have never had the opportunities that we do. We have no idea what other people go through and the opportunities that they would look at us and go, sometimes in my career, I get down on myself. I'm like, why aren't I, I'll be totally honest, why aren't I more famous, or why don't I have more money, or why 1,000 things? Why is this guy getting the job over me, or this woman, or whatever, whoever's getting it. I'm normally happy if a woman gets the job over me, to tell you the truth, but it's normally a guy. Unfortunately, it's normally a white guy. So you go, guy, I'm fighting so hard. And then you have to realize there's a lot of people that look at my position and some stuff that I've done as mind blowing.
Yeah.
And so everyone is always, to a certain extent, looking and not happy with their life. Our natural discomfort, like in art, we call it a divine, what would be another word for discomfort, but just it's a divine anxiety. You want to do more. You want to.
I have a new word for it, and it's a word that I've made up that I use all the time, and it's called comparisonitis.
Yes, comparisonitis.
So it is, and
sure.
It's easy, especially with social media and the way that society is nowadays, for especially our the next generation, with everything that they see out there, and they don't understand where they've come from because they're just seeing them on the screen. And then comparisonitis comes through, and this is where you come through again with the self-sabotage and not feeling good enough.
Sure, and look how
that, I just want you to laugh again. Can you laugh again?
That was very fake laughter.
But
the second one was real. The second one was real. So sometimes
no fake laugh. I went into my daughter's room I don't know, couple of months back, and she had her friends round, and I just walked in because laughter is a medicine. It really is a medicine. I say this to people all the time. And I walked in, and I just stood there, and I just started belly laughing. And she had 3 girls in there, and they just looked at me as if I had drank a bottle of whiskey or something beforehand. And they were just like, and she was like, Mum, will you just leave? And then I just started laughing. I just stood there laughing. And then her friends started laughing. And it was just, it rollerballed until everyone was just properly laughing. And then I felt I'd done my job then. And then I just turned around and I went, bye girls, have a nice evening. And I left with just the most huge smile, and I could hear them all giggling after and everything else. And you just think, why don't we just turn into offices and go into offices and just make everybody laugh for a little bit before they actually go on to do something, because it really is medicine.
Well, I mean, since most of my life I've been a comic, people always ask, understand comedy is based on tragedy. Normally, that's simple as that. You wouldn't do a joke about a bully if you hadn't been experienced a bully. Normally something happens to you. So our antibodies, speaking in a pandemic way, against tragedy is comedy.
Yeah.
You know, that's what forces up again. And even if you look at some of the great philosophers and people like that, there was a certain sense of, you know, I think of a Justin of Hippo, a first century Christian martyr who was also a philosopher. And the Roman soldiers are on his trail, and he can't lie, and they're after him, and they're like a boat behind him rowing very fast. They sail ahead. You see Justin of Hippo, and he says, "Yes, I have. And if you row very fast, you'll catch him." So they rowed very quickly past him to catch Justin Hippo. Everything he said was true. And I thought, he has a sense of humor. I could sense, even thousands of years later, I'm hearing a sense of humor. And humor is something that even in the throes of Auschwitz, Carl Franken talked about it, you know, where he tried to find humor. You know, the whole idea of the meaning of life. You know, he talked about a woman that, even though she's about to die or be executed, she's looking at a songbird out there and enjoying the song. And that's the thing, is looking much like that, of going, you know, even in our darkest times, we have to look at humor.
Yes.
Even in our darkest times, we have to bring up humor, because humor is our way of taking control of the situation.
But don't you think it's changed slightly? Because I was on one of your writing courses with you, remember? And you remember that lady who was talking about writing comedy, and she didn't want to write comedy that was going to criticize or hurt others, kind of thing.
Well,
so, you know,
yeah, I mean, that's
always been about, you know, you see it in the movies, and it's ripping the you know, the mick out of people, and, you know, and making them feel small so everyone laughs at them. You know, that's the old-fashioned comedy. And I thought it was lovely the way that she asked that question, saying she really wants to be a stand-up comedian, but she doesn't really want to hurt people's feelings.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Normally when that happens, and that's the way, you know, the comedies, it's a unique form. It's like there's comedians that attack the audience and make them laugh and call them on their things. That goes all the way back to Commedia dell'arte, when the characters were the braggadondo, the person you made fun of. You know, Moliere did it with the imaginary invalid, and Shakespeare. So there's certain characters or archetypes you're making fun of, but it's seldom that you're making fun of an actual person. No. You do that. You know, even I've done it and written for In Living Color and shows like that, where I've taken on celebrities. I remember once writing a scathing sketch on Cher, and I was one of the writers, and she sent me a bunch of beautiful shampoo and gifts and stuff like that, and said, "Fuck you very much, Cher." And I was like laughing, because I thought, what a great sense of humor. And even, you know, a friend of mine, Edward James Olmos, I did a sketch that made fun of him, you know, but it was played by Jim Carrey, and Eddie now laughs and thinks it's funny. But you know, immediate comedy, when you're making fun of someone, can be very cutting and hard. What I do, and we all have to have our preamble, what we will do and won't do as comedians. What I do as a comedian is I normally don't make fun of someone of something they can't change about themselves. Like if someone's very heavy or not attractive, I can name off 1,000 things. I'm not going to make fun of it. You know, I'm not going to make fun of a person with, you know, one arm or different things that they can't honestly change. It's how they're born, as I would expect them to do the same with me. And then secondly, you want comedy to be truthful. All right, let me ask you a question. So this is our questions. Okay. I'm trying not to filter.
I know it says honest and a truth, but come on, we're live here.
Right. Tell me, tell me about one of the loves of your life, and why? Because love is so important in our world.
Oh my gosh. Do you know, I have to say that
yeah, go on.
Sorry?
I was going to tell you don't have to use your husband. You can
No. One of the loves in my life is, I do have to say, is my really good friend, Veronica Sosa. And I say that because, you know, obviously, you know, you have your husband and your children, sure, your parents and everything else. And that's because of the the connection of how we view the world, how free and open we can be with each other, how we can be, how we're raw and real, how we're mirrors of each other, how, we understand that we're on different timelines, and how I would do anything for her and she would do anything for me without asking anything in return. And I do believe that love is all encompassing. And I honestly do believe that when you say one of my loves of my life, I could say that, but I can honestly say from deep down that there's the majority of people that I'm connected with, I love dearly. Mm-hmm. And from the point that years ago, my grandparents, my grandparents, my nan was German, and my grandfather was a British soldier, and they met during the Second World War in Germany. During
wow.
the war. So
that's a heck of a. It's like it went World War I with Germany, World War II with Germany, yeah. And then love came out of that. So that's kind of a happy story.
It did come out of it because he was an officer in the military, and fell in love with a German lady who was doing the telegrams or something. She came from a very, 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 very wealthy family in Germany, but then decided to give it all up and flee Germany when the war was over and marry this English man. And they've always been an inspiration to me. But every time I was in their house, we would never allow to leave the house without saying, I love you. And you'd always leave the house and say, I love you. And they used to say, God bless you. So if you'd had a hard argument or anything that happened, you still have to say, I love you. And when I met my husband, the first thing that I said is that whatever happens, we leave the house and we say, love you. And when we come in, and it's something that we've kind of done with the children. So even now I see my daughter, when Veronica and I talk, the end of the conversation is love you, babe. And now I hear my daughter with all her friends, male and female. And she'll be on the phone saying, all right, Charlie, I'll come and see you later. Love you. And, love is so much more. Love is everywhere. So if that answers your question, is that I love everybody. Everybody that's good. Everyone that's got a good soul.
Yeah.
I feel it, and I do. I love to spread love. I think love is one of the most important things in this planet.
I agree. I mean, it's kind of been my journey, is to almost, I've been a comic. I've been so many different things, an executive, a million things. And it all comes down to when I go trout fishing. I put a fly out there and fly in. And there's a certain meditation in it. And I think the meditation gets you close to God. And in the end, God is love. Yes. So when you love God, you experience love. But if you love God, you must love others because he loves others. It's that whole infinity of love, the eight on its side of infinity symbol. I'm taking algebra, so I'm learning these things. But
eight speakers for 8 minutes.
Yeah, 8 minutes. And I know you brought it up, and it's funny. Sometimes you get, if you listen to your life carefully, really listen to it, you'll find patterns like eight. Like the other day when I was on your show, and yes became a pattern. I kept seeing in the chat room, yes. And I wonder how we, as people, sometimes we miss out on opportunities that we have no idea are there. I mean, there's been times I've directed shows or written shows where literally if the actor asked me to audition for him, no problem, they would get an audition. But they either don't know who I am or don't know what I can do or anything. So I'm not going to volunteer to tell them, I don't want someone calling me up going, please give me an audition. It's the least I'll do. But funny enough, when people ask me, I've always done it. I've always done it. And it's because I believe when people ask for help, it is your obligation to try to help as best you can. It's what you have to do. Like look how I've said yes to you, to us, to talking. We meet in Puerto Vallarta. And I sit down with you and it was yes. Everything was yes. Yeah, great. I want you to come on hit. Yes. I want you to do this. Yes. You'll ask me questions. And I think when you're in that realm of yes, it's a very loving and abundant life. It's abundant life. Your life becomes more abundant when you love, and more people are included.
Because you wouldn't say yes if you didn't have a feel. It's all of us. We say yes when we've got that trust in the people around us. And the more that we actually love ourselves, I do believe that the more that we love ourselves and the more we're confident in ourselves and who we are, the more that we're confident in trusting and loving others to be able to say yes.
Yeah, and to love your true self. That's one of the things, because sometimes people love their image of themselves, or they love this thing themselves. You know, I've had to get back to my true self, who I really am, and to be in love with that, because especially when you're in the arts like I am, where you're an actor, a writer, and all these things, everyone has opinion of you. And, you know, when I was on a TV show, General Hospital, back in the day, and I was this young kid out of drama school, and I had the summer storyline. So everyone saw me. It was just insane. And I would go out and people would be talking about me. And at first I started enjoying it. It's like, yeah, it's great. They're talking about me. You know, oh my God, that's the guy from General Hospital. And I think, wow. But then one day I went to Universal Studios with my father and my mother. And I sat down in the theater, and I hear this woman go, oh, that's the guy from General Hospital. Oh my God. Wow, he's really good looking, or whatever. It's many years ago. So
stop it.
No, you're right. Okay. They said this, and I heard it, and it was like, oh, that's really nice. You know, of course, you're you know, it's better than a kick in the pants. Does someone says some compliment? A second later, her boyfriend just starts cussing me out. Like, you go, oh, you know, forget that guy, blankety blank. He's a blankety blank. You know, all these things. And I'm like, my family's here with me, and they're right behind me. I'm like, oh man. And so I finally got sick of it, and I stood up, turned around, and I was just about to wail on this guy. And I look at him, and he's a little guy, like a little person, not quite little person, but he's like that middle ground where he doesn't seem a little person, but there's definitely something happening where, you know, so he's about 4'1" or something. And I'm like, 4'2". Oh, you're 4'2". No, okay. This guy's 3'1". I don't know what it is. Wait, you're 4'2"?
No, I'm joking.
Oh, good. Yeah. So I was like, I have no idea how taller people are. So I look around, I go, and I just think there's this, in my mental mind, there was a headline in the National Enquirer: General Hospital star beats up a small person in a movie theater. And I just went, what am I doing? And I just looked at him and like, shut up. And I just turned around and sat down. And then I literally, at that moment, I remember going, I don't want fame. It's not fun. People are saying stuff about me. And it has been my desire almost not to be famous, which I did change, because fame is merely like wealth. It's just something you can use, either for good or bad. If you can use your fame to get people to look at a cause that you believe in, that's a good thing. If you use your fame to you know, brag and make someone feel worse about their life because you're full of yours, then that's a bad thing. And what it does to you or change you.
It comes in, isn't it? And this is where, again, it's coming from the true love of true self, because it's whether or not they're living their life, or they're acting from ego, or they're acting from their soul. Because when you're going from the ego, that is just look at me, look what I've got, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Or for, as you say, for gratitude than it is for service.
And the funny thing about, you know, us meeting and us talking and all this, you couldn't ask for two people from two different backgrounds. You're from England, you know, you don't have a Range Rover, so that stereotype's gone.
What makes you think I had a Range Rover? You just think I'm driving the country?
I think you're just a country, like a country squire kind of thing. Like you've got this Range Rover, you're driving around, it's all green around you. I got this image. I mean, you probably have an image of me. You're thinking Hollywood, you know, Hollywood's a miserable looking place. I just want to tell you, it is like most people go, I'm not going to live in Hollywood. Most people that work in Hollywood don't live in Hollywood. It's full of tourists and odd people. It's very desperate. It's a sad town. No one really likes Hollywood, especially us who work in it. So everyone has an idea how we live our lives. And so with you, I've really never even questioned that much about you. I've never really talked to you and stuff because I've accepted you totally. And you just tell me things like, oh, great. until I'm ever proven wrong, I just trust and believe. And you have that about your soul, that you're very, you seem kind. You have a kind heart. I can tell. Okay, here's my question. So I did your question. Okay. Let me think, guys, this is good. Okay. I hate to be egotistical right now, but you told me to be that way. What did you think of me when you first met me?
Right, let's end the call here. Right, let's.
Okay, end the call.
No, see,
that was our hit talk. Thank you.
Because you were speaking and you had a translator as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was what?
Go
I was
on.
speaking. Yes, I was giving a speech.
Yes,
and it was in Mexico, so I didn't speak in Spanish. I actually wanted a translator because I was talking with some pretty deep thoughts, and I was like, I have a vocabulary of a 5-year-old in Spanish half the time. So it's like, as intelligent as I may be in English, when I switch to Spanish, I dropped down a few grade levels. And
well,
I didn't want.
Anyway, stop interrupting. So I'm going to tell you about you.
Okay.
So you had the translator, and it kind of broke because I could tell that you were such a good storyteller, and you had so much. I could see your soul, and the break of you speaking to have the translation, I was like, oh my gosh, I'd love from the English perspective for you to flow with your stories. And then when we met in the bar after, and then we were chatting there, and I just loved the honesty of, that sounds awful, we met in the bar after, doesn't it?
I heard that and I was like, I don't know if you want to say that. It's just a little. We met in the bar. We're drinking.
Is it arranged to meet after?
It was a wonderful hotel, and they have an area where people meet for drinks and talk after the thing. So and they serve food. So it was very above board. Let's be clear.
Yes.
Some of us don't have the innocence of me and you. There might be listening in on this court.
Of course. Well, I don't mind what others think. I know.
I like that.
We don't need our ego.
Yes.
But then, as we were sat there chatting, and we were just talking about life and the synchronicities of your wife and my husband, and the times that we'd both been married and chatting, and then we went and chatted with Dr. Sanjeev Chopra, didn't we? And had some food.
His wife, Amita,
with them, and with Amita as well, Amita Chopra. And it was just like an instant connection. When you have, and I spoke to Sanjeev about this today, when it's like your soul family from another life, and you instantly connect. So like when we talk, it's like we can talk, we can laugh at each other, we can be raw and real with each other, we can be serious, and it's just that. And for me, when I meet these people on my journey, it's instant. But that's because I'm now in this place where I feel people. I feel people, and I can see their souls, and I can see whether or not their souls are here, and they're trying to get there, and I can see their souls on the journey of them just like really opening up. And I saw your soul, and I honestly, truly think that you have so much to give in the world, and that's what you're doing. And you're always there to help people. You're great with stories. People love your stories. People can relate to you. There isn't an egotistic side that I've seen as yet. And if I see that egotistic side, I would be the first one to fly over to LA.
Yeah. Well, I would tell you. I would tell you. I even joke about, like, when we get these hit talks, I'll go, I'm so spiritual. This is going to be so deep. This is going to be amazing spiritual. I'm the most spiritual, most humble spiritual man you'll meet. So I look at it as like an old Jewish proverb: man plans, God laughs. And so, yeah, I think when we talk, it is a recognition of each other, of our souls, and of saying, hey, this is a very deep soul meeting you. I thought, wow, a very deep soul, very fascinating, and the polar opposite of me. You know, it was just like England. I was like, we would joke, and I'd say something wrong, and I'd say that's my American education system, like not knowing Ireland is an island. I have to remember that. I'm thinking, so isn't it the British Commonwealth? They're all together. There's something like that. But now I'm learning. No, it's actually an island. And I mean, okay, historical things like I go, well, the Spanish Armada crashed on the shores of Ireland when they tried to during the reign of Queen Elizabeth, when they tried to invade England, and I can think that. But sometimes just contemporary things, I get a little, I get confused. Like I was just helping my daughter with history, the Renaissance, and so I'm just helping her in the Renaissance, and I'm trying to figure out how to educate them. So I told her, 15 minutes. You study for just 15 minutes, and then go away, then go back. 15 minutes, 15 minutes, and I really was trying to do that because I was trying to teach her that it's just concentrate time, because it's very distracted, like I do, and so she understands it now. But when I around people like you and me, I see a mission, and I sense you have a mission. That's me talking about you now after meeting in a bar in Mexico. I do.
Like, come on.
I teach a little. I have to do a little public relations talk. But we met at dinner with Sanjeev Chopra. I went. Let's face it that way. So I met you at a bar. It was tequila shots. But so I remember thinking that here was a woman on a journey for her soul, and a journey for experience, and a journey for really taking a look at her. And I saw you on this journey, and I saw in you a heart for people. I think that's what we recognize. You recognize, I think I have a heart for people. And I think you have a heart for people. It's in our actions. It's like me. What are the two things I like? I like performing and writing and cooking. Yeah. What's cooking for? Isn't that a gift to people? I just made vegan chili because Edward James Olmos is a vegan. He lives near me. So I wanted to, during this pandemic, I'm bringing him food every once in a while just to break his monotony. And he's like, wow, thank you. Love you, Rick. This is amazing. He's like so happy. And it made me happy. And he's a major star and a great guy. And it's the little things that make him happy. And I think that's a point in life we all have to get to. And I think with you have even there's a skeptical side of me always, because, you work in Hollywood, most people you meet, you're like, oh my good Lord, or normally the worst part is the people you meet half the time are great until something happens. They're up for a role or this, and they change. I remember I've met very, some famous people. Like when I was in Living Color, it was Jennifer Lopez. She was a fly girl. She was a dancer. And I remember meeting her, and she used to come to my office all the time. We'd talk all the time, and she was just sweet. Just really great person. Same with Jamie Foxx. Jamie was fun. Certain people you'd meet and hang out with, and you go, I like that person. They are that person off stage or on camera or whatever. And that's genuine. And I think you are genuine. And that's why I like you, and I like talking to you, and I like hearing your thoughts. And I think also we choose our friends. Family's different. You have your family, but there's something special when you choose friends, people that you care about. That's my friend. I like that person. And we need that. We desperately, if anything the pandemic taught us, is that we need community. We need friends. The other day it hit me. I was like, wow, I don't have any best friends. It kind of bothered me. No male best friends. I tend to have better relationships with women, because since I grew up in the industry, men were competition for me. If an actor, he would be my best buddy, but I'd go, he's going to audition against me because we're in the same time and all this. And so there's a competition constantly. Whereas women, there was no competition. I could just simply talk to them, and it was fine. So I think you choose your friends, and they in some ways become your family. Your friends become your family.
You're so family.
Yeah, your soul family. And it's strange because, I was on an Indian reservation, and I remember they had pretty much adopted me in their tribe, and they just treated me like, you're a family. And I was like, what, do you have a special ceremony? They gave me a blessing. They did that. But I was like, where's my adoption papers? I need my papers. I need, proof of this. I need an Indian passport.
Week.
Yeah. But I think that brings us to another thing. It's a choice.
Yes.
Yes is a choice. Yes is a choice. That's the thing about a yes. A yes is a choice. Choose yes or no. And you're choosing yes. So when you have friends, you're choosing yes to that friendship. You're inviting them into your life as your friend.
Mm-hmm.
And with that is certain responsibilities and things. One of the dearest friends I've had in my life has been Elena Sotomayor, who's going to come on Hit Talks.
Yay.
Yeah, she's great. And I've known her for years. She's like a sister to me, and I'm always surprised. It's like, how many years have we known each other? How many years have we've been friends, and she's a great person. She's a great friend. And I'll tell you why she's a great friend. And this is what I think is true of all our soul connections. None of us ever judge each other. There's never a judgment. It's like with you. I never judge you. I just say, oh, what are you up to? What's going on? And I enjoy your life. Or no, that's great. Wow. And since I know so little about you.
People come into your field and they want to be part of your connection, but you can feel that the ego is there, or you can feel that there's an agenda behind it.
Yeah.
And you can't actually say specifically what it is. It is just a feeling. And then I say to Veronica sometimes, I'm just not getting it. And she'll say, can you explain? I said, sorry, I can't explain. It's just that I'm not getting this person. And I can't specifically say whether or not it's because he's got red hair and blue eyes, or she's 16 feet tall, or whatever it is. It's just in a knowing kind of thing.
Well, that's a giant. If you meet someone 16 feet, they're a giant. So I just want you to know. Just to let you know, 16-foot redhead woman is a giant. That may be true of England. We don't have this here in America. We have no giants like that. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
But we have to cross the island, as you just said. Can't you just drive across the island?
Yes, drive to Ireland. Well, it's funny because the problem with America, and I admit this because I'm an American, I can say it, we don't have the education system as other people around the world. I think, the amount of education we have, we almost don't. We have that American idea of I'm self-made. I don't need an education. No, self-made people are educated as well. They just may not choose to be educated in a university. Mm-hmm. They're educated in their own way. They, life is a library for them, which they grab the books from and they learn. So I'm a big believer that education is necessary for life. And I used to think, education is the remedy to prejudice. But I just recently saw an incident where a Sacramento teacher with a PhD and his wife with a master's are yelling at their neighbors, racial epithets and everything else. And he's actually saying, I'm a PhD and I'm at Sacramento. And she's like, yeah, I got a master's degree. And they're both drinking beer and they look soccered out of their minds. And they're racist. They're being racist to these people. I'm not saying they're racist all day long, but I think one of the problems is we're not acknowledging race. We're not saying the problems of race and stuff like that. And with me and you, there's a sense of giving and a sense of non-judgmental attitudes, and I think when you don't judge people, like, they open themselves up to you more. They show themselves more. They're not fearful. Fearful makes you stop and go, and I don't want to say that because they might be against it. And I tend to be extremely truthful. I tell people what I'm thinking. I get in tons of trouble all the time. I cause major chaos, but I do it out of love and I do it truthfully. There's nothing I've ever said comically on stage that's ever a lie. Nothing. A lot of times I just tell stories that are true and people laugh at them. Things that I think are odd, but people will like I told a story about my wife one time. It was a really funny joke, but it was a true experience that happened. So I'm taking my life, my truth, and put it out there.
Yeah. And that's the thing, it is truth, and it's actually coming from the right space of being able to share your truth and doing that and sharing your truth. The thing is when you're raw and real and everyone is speaking their truth and sharing their truth from the right place, there is so many lives that you're able to impact, because we are all one, and there's many of us that are going through the same experiences, whether or not that's whatever path that they're on. And then when you're truthful and you're raw and real and you're able to share that, then you are able to transform people's lives, or be part of their transformation, or be part of their inspiration, and to give them hope, which takes us back to Hit Talks, because that's the aim of it, isn't it? Really, is that together, collectively, is that we want everyone that is part of Hit Talks. And this is our fourth episode, isn't it, that we're coming up to?
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
a fourth episode, and every single speaker that we've had on there, and correct me what your feelings are, but every single speaker that we've had on there has spoken their truth. They've spoken from their heart. There isn't any ego, there isn't any judgment. It purely is there to give the viewers hope, to give the viewers inspiration, and give them something that perhaps they can transform their lives with.
Yeah, I think what it does, in what I like, because when you approach me, it's like 8-minute talks for 8 minutes, talk on a subject, don't plan, just talk. And so I did, and I was like, well, what am I going to say? I have no idea. Normally I just drag myself out of bed because it's 10 a.m. here, and it's you guys everyone's from a different part of the world. There's a guy in Jakarta, there's a guy in this place. So it's already a monstrous effort that you have to put in to make sure time zones work, that everyone can talk. I mean, it's confusing, because even today I know we're gonna talk at 12, and I'm like, is it 12 p.m.? Is it my time, or is it 12 p.m. her time?
Yeah, I went to bed till 1 a.m.
Yeah, that was like, so. And there's part of it is like, when I like to talk or speak, normally is later at night. I really love talking late at night. I feel much more together. This call, like we're doing on StreamYard, what's great about it, what I've come to like about this time, is that humans have such a need for communication and closeness and understanding, that a lot of times with that need, you will find a way to communicate. If you look at a caveman who writes a drawing of a horse, he's speaking to the person watching that horse thousands of years later. There's a desire to leave an imprint. There's a desire to communicate. There's a desire to say why we're here. And that's important. And I think a lot of times when I do these talks with you, it's a mutual wrestling of concepts, of understanding of why we exist. Of both of us going, well, I don't know. What about this? What about, it's almost like a scientific exploration of why we exist. And I think that's what all humanity has. All humanity has that fundamental idea of, why am I here and what am I supposed to do? It's like we woke up in the middle of a party, and it's like, why am I here and what am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to meet? It's constant. And the constant affirmation of life is to continue to ask the question and continue to seek the answer. And that's a forward path. That's forward. It's not, not looking back. It's not, because I think a lot of times when you look back too much, you go in that direction. There's an old saying.
Well, you should now. Why live in the past? It's living in the now, being grateful and appreciative of the now, and learning now. But anyway, me. I think there's no such thing as time and space. But we won't go into that now. But definitely about living in the now, and your thought process of the last speakers that we've had on Hit Talks.
I've really enjoyed them. I haven't, kind of great. We don't even have time to know who they are. I've never sat there and you send me a list of people and I go through a bio and I find out what they're about and all that stuff. it's in a strange way, it's the closest intimacy as on an airplane. You ever notice when you're in an airplane, you end up talking with people, you tell them everything? It's the hottest thing. I don't know if it's ever happened to you. It's happened to me plenty of times. So I was sitting in a plane and someone will talk to me and I would just go immediately into what they're about and then find out and talk to them because I'm just so curious. And I think the being confined and you're together and it's all random. You know, God, universe, put you together with these people, that person sitting next to you. What are the odds of that? And I've met some incredible people on planes, just that, you know, that would tell me stories and be super nice to me and everything else. And, you know, of course, when I got off the plane, I'd ever sent them a note. Half the time I'd never get anything back. But at that moment, they're at their honest spot. I don't know if it's because we're up in the middle of the 30,000 feet over the world, and we're in this steel cylinder that is a miracle that we're even up there. But people talk, and I definitely listen. So with this group of speakers, they all talk the same way. They talk from their heart. They talk on what inspires them. They're trying to inspire other people around them, depending. But you've had some really interesting speakers because the reason is I write down what they say. Like I feel like I'm in class. So like the guy from Jakarta said, you know, all the major religions of the world are there and they get along because they help each other build their own churches.
Yeah.
And I thought, what a fascinating idea. So if a Muslim help a Jew create a synagogue, and the synagogue, the Jews from the synagogue help the Muslims create a mosque, and the mosque and the Muslims and Jews got together to help the Christians build a Christian church. What a beautiful concept. It's almost like an Amish barn raising. All the members of the community raise the barn. And I think that's what's good about it is you're actually saying, this is our community. It's not just me. It's not, you know, the community has to be bigger, you know, and I think people worry about globalism. That was always the big thought in America. You know, globalism, oh my Lord, globalism. Globalism is natural. It's like, as a children, we grow up. Okay, who's the strange person you're going to meet? Your neighbor. Oh, and the neighbor has a kid. You play with the kid. Oh, great. Then you go to school and you play with more people. Oh, fantastic. And then you go to college and you end up on spring break, unfortunately, playing with a lot of people, maybe too much. So
you're saying about that's sticking to you about Jason talking about that. One of the speakers, which was Christine from Singapore in the last episode that stuck with me, and I remember telling my husband about it, is I am coffee. And
that's a great one.
Yeah, I am coffee. And I was like, okay. And then it was just like, put me in hot water and I'll show you how strong I am. And you just think, and I wrote that down and I've quoted that quote to a few people because, you know, that's the thing in life. Sometimes we are put in hot water. We're put in sticky situations, aren't we? And then every time, as you say, she's put in a sticky situation or put into a situation that's a little bit challenging, for instance, or an environment that's challenging. It's like, I am coffee. I just become stronger. And
you can take it further. I am espresso. I'm crushed into an area and slapped and beaten and steamed, put it in, and look, I come out delicious.
Exactly.
And powerful. It'll keep you up for days.
Yeah, so it's picking up those inspirational, it's picking up those, for me, it's picking up the inspirational tips and their stories about, you know, having to be told that you need heart surgery just before going on to a live show. And then having that affirmation to be able to support you through that. And as you say, you know, your talk about just saying yes and how we can take all these opportunities of just saying yes. And so I find I receive so much inspiration. I find that after every episode myself that I'm able to transform into, well, every day we transform, if that's our choice. Every day we can transform and every day we can be a better person than the day before through choice. But I find definitely after the episodes, when I go through all the notes that I've made, as you say as well, that the transformational messages that I receive as well it just really just warms my heart.
Yeah, and even this, you know, we're just trying this as a test, and I think Harifa Daly from Ireland is watching.
Yes.
And, so I think that's wonderful.
We've got Ireland on the next show, so we have 2 people coming from Ireland, which is nice surprises. So you'll have to check out our website to find out we've got Ireland coming in as well.
Yeah. And Mexicans, you know, Mexican American, we love the Irish.
Yeah.
The Irish support us during the war between us and the States. They're the group of Irish. They're called the San Patricios. They actually joined the Mexicans to protect and help the Mexicans fight against the invading Americans. It was like, so we love the Irish. It's like the man was named John Riley, and he was an Irish man, and they joined the Mexicans. So Mexico honors the Irish, the San Patricios, every year. So Ireland, we love Ireland. It's odd.
But that's the thing, from all over the world. Yeah, we've got New Zealand, we've got Ireland, then we've got Mumbai coming in. We've had Singapore, as I say, oh my God, Singapore, Indonesia, so many parts. And this is the thing about the lockdown as well, the pluses and the benefits of the situation that we're in, that we're able to bring these people together to speak and to share from a global stage through this platform.
Yeah, and I think it's something, the only way to beat this pandemic is globally unite. That's the thing. It's the only way. It's like, we couldn't have won World War II if we weren't united with Russia and England. Those were our allies. Mm-hmm. So it's uniting to stop a common foe, and the common foe is a virus, which is not human. Normally, we unite to fight this enemy, which happens to be a person, but now you were actually fighting something that's not human. So it brings out, and it should bring out, the humanity in us to do that. Harif is right. Lockdowns made people connect with one another. It's true. It's also, have you noticed when you talk to people on the phone, they have more time? I love that.
About this, and that's the thing. They're able to have a proper conversation instead of rushing off to go and do other things.
Because you hear the voice, like okay, great, okay, yeah, and it's click. And my kids would always comment that I always hung up the phone too fast, and I'm kind of thinking now maybe you're right. I just want to make sure. Okay, goodbye, take it easy, then click. But in our rush world of what we were in the past was like, goodbye, great, bam. We said it really quick. And that was our world. And now we have to create a new world because the old world doesn't work.
Hope, inspiration, and transformation.
Yes, through hope, inspiration, transformation.
We've been chatting for an hour. Do you believe that or not? We could chat forever, couldn't we?
We could talk forever. We're good. The only thing that throws me off is I keep seeing myself, and I'm like, do I look like this? I know. You're right. I got to be good. Good. You're absolutely right. I'm learning to not in any way put myself down. Good. Because I think we have to be our biggest advocate. We have to fight for each other and one and ourselves. Say that again.
Fight for ourselves. Fight for yourself.
Yeah.
Definitely. And as Harif said, families have dinner together, watching TV together. Yeah, we do need all a break. My daughter is colouring, and she's got her friend over, and they're sat in the garden, colouring pictures in, and that would never have happened before. They're 16 years of age, and it's beautiful. So there's so many pluses of what's going on. But Rick, just final words then. Final words on hope, inspiration, and transformation, and why should people join us at the next HIT Talks on the 6th of June?
I would say hope, inspiration, and transformation. If you go there and believe in hope, transformation, inspiration, transformation, there's a reason you're supposed to listen to the talk. I believe that. I believe that that if it may be 2 people and you came in, it's not a matter of the quantity of how many people listen to this talk. We have lost the ability to have conversations. Now we're having to get it back. We're going to have to actually talk to one another and listen to each other and speak to each other. And we, in this hope, inspiration, transformation, it came from a bad place, which is the virus. We started, it isolated itself. And in our desire to connect to people, we made these amazing instruments, the internet, the web, and all that stuff, and we started using it in a great way. I think that's what I like about it, because now we know we need to be connected. We need to feel a connection. It's really important. And what we were before was very isolated. And even though we're in isolation, we're not. Whereas before, we weren't in this isolation, but we were in isolation. We're in our own little bubbles. We're in a car. We're in a subway. We're in our own little worlds, and we were isolated.
Constantly.
Constantly. The phone, it's this evil master that forces us to look at. And, I mean, some of these things, Facebook, it's like, how many likes do you get? How come so-and-so didn't like me? That's weird. I mean, even that is such a strange thought, that someone has to listen to your conversation and like it while you're talking. Like, oh yeah, I like it. And you're waiting for how many likes you get. All these metrics to tell you something you shouldn't know. You should either know if people like what you have to say is good, or if you like yourself. You can't care. You can't care for these things.
Energetic exchange. So even just us talking now, it's an energetic exchange. It's yes. Our conversation is energetically being magnified around the universe. So the people that need to hear us, the people that things happen for a reason, then they will hear us, and they'll come across us, and they'll come across Hit Talks, and something will click and something will change and give them hope, inspiration, and transformation.
Yes, it will. Well, we've had a wonderful talk. I don't know if I have any last questions, because we'll continue this on our next hit episode.
There's some questions in beforehand. And
does anyone watching want to ask us a question? We should.
Out of the bad, there is always one good. Yes, that's very true, Catherine. Out of the bad, there is always good to see. Yes, and that's the way that we look at things. And we can look at things, as I said on the last Hit Talks, about Simon Sinek talking about the line after a marathon, and when there was bagels at the end. And he said, oh, I want to have a bagel. They're free bagels. And his friend said, whoa, there's a really long line. He said, yeah, but there's free bagels. And his friend said, well, there's a really long line. So one could see the bagels and one could see the line. And it was just the line was putting them off getting the free bagels. And it's just two different ways of looking at it. You can look at the good side, or you can look at the bad side, as Catherine said. Thank you so much for that. And as you know us very well, Catherine, is that we always look at the good side. We do what we can to help others look at the good side. And I'd like to thank you so much, Rick, for joining us on this honest inner truths, because we have just been discussing things that just came through, as we do. And I can't wait for our next conversation. And I can't wait for everyone to join us on the 6th of June, where Rick will be sharing, as well as 7 other amazing speakers, 8 people. 8 minutes, 8 being the infinity, 8 being harmony, 8 being the abundant number. So many synchronicities behind Hit Talks. It's not just Hit Talks. Behind the scene, from an energetic perspective, from the way it's put together, with the people it's put together with, that's why it's magic.
Yes. I'll see you then.
See you then. Take care, everyone.
Namaste. Bye.
Bye-bye.